Hey there. Looks like you've been digging deep into the world of fintech.
Yeah, tons of articles about robo-advisors.
You've been sending over some really interesting research papers on Robo-Advisor, so I'm excited to dive into this.
Me too.
We're talking titles like The Future of Finance is Digital
Right.
and Artificial Intelligence in Financial Services.
hmm
So it seems like you're really trying to get to the bottom of this.
Yeah, I'm really keen to understand how AI and automation are going to change finance. It seems like there are going to be some really big changes.
I think you're right from what I've been reading.
It's kind of mind-blowing when you really think about it.
Yeah, get ready, because we're about to break down all these complex academic papers.
Okay.
We're going to try to figure out all the important stuff.
Yeah.
All the key insights that will help you really understand this field that's blowing up right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it's really interesting, too, because,
Well, and one of the things that really stood out to me was this statistic about how much money robo-advisors are expected to be managing in the next few years. Like, did you see that?
yeah, I think it was something like $1.4 trillion globally in just the next couple of years.
Yeah, that's just a staggering number.
I know. That really sets the stage, I think, for how important this is becoming.
It really highlights the potential for growth in this area.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not like the old days of picking stocks.
Right.
We're talking about algorithms, almost like these digital financial advisors.
That's a good way to put it.
But how do they actually work? What's going on behind the scenes?
So it all comes down to algorithms.
Okay.
But, and this is important, we're not talking about just some simple set of rules.
Right.
These algorithms are constantly learning and adapting. They're not static.
So they're not just looking back at what already happened. They're actually analyzing and trying to predict the future.
Precisely. Like one of the articles you sent, the one on AI and financial services, it talks about how these algorithms are crunching huge amounts of historical data.
Yeah.
And they're looking for patterns, trying to get an edge on what might happen in the markets.
That's really interesting.
It is really interesting, and it gets even more interesting when you consider that some of the research is even starting to look at behavioral finance.
Behavioral finance, huh?
Yeah.
Now that's a fascinating twist. I'm excited to hear more about this.
Yeah, me too. It's a really interesting area, and it could change the game for robo-advising.
So we're not just talking about crunching numbers anymore.
Nope. We're talking about algorithms that understand not just the market, but also human psychology.
Wow. So we're talking about algorithms that could potentially understand our emotions and our biases and how those things affect our financial decisions. That's getting sophisticated.
It really is.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and when you think about it, it makes sense, right? Like, we all know that emotions can sometimes lead us to make bad financial decisions.
For sure.
So if a robo-advisor can recognize those patterns and help us avoid those pitfalls, that could be incredibly valuable.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people listening are probably wondering right now, if these robo-advisors are so smart, what are the biggest advantages of using one compared to, say, a traditional human financial advisor?
Okay, so let's talk about that. I think one of the biggest advantages, and this might seem obvious, but it's accessibility.
Okay.
Robo-advisors can offer this really sophisticated guidance, portfolio management, you name it,
Right.
at a cost that's just a fraction of what you'd pay a human advisor.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, that's a game changer, especially for people who are just getting started with investing or maybe don't have as much money to invest.
Exactly. It really opens up a whole new world of possibilities.
And when you talk about cost,
Yeah.
one of the articles actually broke it down like really specifically.
Oh,
For
really?
like a $1 million portfolio.
Yeah.
They were saying that a traditional advisor might charge you 1.5% per year.
Yeah.
But with a robo-advisor, it can be a fraction of that, sometimes even zero.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
That's huge. Over time, if you're saving that much in fees, that really adds up.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and I think that really gets to this idea of efficiency, right? Because robo-advisors can automate so many of those tasks that would take a human advisor hours and hours of work,
That's a good point.
like portfolio rebalancing.
Right, and tax loss harvesting and all that.
Exactly. It's like having this tireless financial assistant, working 24/7.
Yeah. But I do wonder, I bet you get this question a lot. Can you really trust an algorithm with your money?
Yeah, for sure.
Because, some people, they really want to talk to a human, someone they can actually, build a relationship with.
Oh, absolutely. And, for some investors, that is so important, right? Especially if you think about someone who maybe needs a little hand-holding during a market downturn.
Right.
Or someone who has a very, very complex financial situation that just really requires personalized advice. Like, there are definitely times when having a human in your corner is really, really invaluable.
So it's not really a matter of one replacing the other. It's more like there are different approaches for different needs, and different people are going to be drawn to different things.
Exactly. Think of it more like a spectrum. So on one end, you have these robo-advisors that are really good at like the technical side of investing. They're data-driven, they're efficient, they can help you stay disciplined, which a lot of investors struggle with. But then on the other end of that spectrum, you have situations where having that human expert is just, it's crucial.
It's interesting, too, because one of the things that really struck me, you sent over this research on the Chinese market, right?
Yeah.
And specifically, this article, Adoption of AI-Enabled Robo-Advisors. It's really interesting. They were talking about how important perceived security and privacy are.
Yeah, isn't that fascinating? And that study in particular really highlighted the importance of cultural context because in China, you see a really high level of trust in technology. But at the same time, there's this like growing awareness of data privacy. So for these robo-advisors to be successful in that market, they really need to prove themselves. They need to demonstrate that commitment to protecting user data.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think it's a really good point that you made, that technology doesn't exist in a vacuum.
Right.
It has to really adapt to the values and concerns of the people who are using it.
Absolutely. And, I think that's another area where AI could play a big role in the future of robo-advisors.
Really?
Yeah. Like, imagine algorithms that can not only manage your investment portfolio, but can also adapt how they communicate with you, even their investment strategy.
Wow.
Based on things like your cultural background
Oh, interesting.
or your ethical considerations.
That's amazing. So you could have truly personalized financial advice, not just for your goals, but also for your values.
Exactly.
That's really interesting. Now, you mentioned earlier how some research suggests bringing behavioral finance into robo-advising. What does that look like in the real world? How would that actually work?
Okay, so robo-advisors could actually use behavioral nudges.
Behavioral nudges, okay.
Exactly, to help investors avoid some of those common pitfalls. Things like, panic selling during a market downturn.
Yeah. It's like having that little voice of reason, because we all know that happens, right? The market dips and you're like, oh,
Yeah, we all panic.
I got to pull everything out.
Exactly.
But if you have something that can kind of anticipate that
Right.
and sort of nudge you in the right direction.
Exactly, and that's the idea. So let's say the market takes a sudden nosedive.
Okay.
A traditional robo-advisor, it might just automatically adjust your portfolio, right? Based purely on the numbers.
Right.
But a robo-advisor that's using behavioral finance, it might first send you a message.
Okay.
And that message might just remind you of your long-term investment goals.
That's a good idea.
Right. Or it might highlight some historical data that shows that markets tend to recover, just as a way to help you stay calm and make rational decisions.
Yeah. It's almost like having that, like you said, that voice of reason.
Exactly.
Like, don't freak out. It's going to be fine.
Right, exactly.
It's like it understands you better than you understand yourself sometimes.
In a way, yeah.
Well, it's really fascinating. And it feels like with all this potential of AI in finance, it feels like we're on the edge of something really, really big and new.
I think so too. And the thing is, this is really just the beginning.
Right.
Yeah. That Future of Finance article that you shared,
Yeah.
they said 57% of fintech companies are using AI already to generate investment signals.
It's amazing. Just a few years ago, we were talking about these basic robo-advisors, right?
Right.
Just rebalancing your portfolio. And now they're practically reading our minds. It's incredible how fast it's progressing.
Yeah, it's moving incredibly fast.
So where do we go from here?
Yeah.
What's next for robo-advisors? What does the future look like?
Well, one thing I'm really interested in is how AI could be used to give everyone access to really sophisticated financial planning. Oh, interesting. So democratizing it in a way.
Exactly. Imagine a world where no matter how much money you make, you have a robo-advisor that can help you plan for retirement or save for your kids' education or figure out these really complex investment strategies.
That would be amazing. It would really level the playing field. No more relying on these expensive financial advisors that a lot of people just can't afford.
Yeah, and I think it goes beyond just having access to the information.
Okay.
It's about having this personalized guidance that takes into account your specific situation.
Right.
How much risk you're comfortable with, even your ethical values.
It's like having a personal CFO in your pocket.
Exactly.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground here today. We talked about the tech behind robo-advisors, the pros and cons, how important trust and transparency are, and the incredible potential of AI in the future of finance.
It's been quite a journey. It has been a journey. But as we wrap up our deep dive here, I want to bring it back to you, the listener.
Hmm.
What do you think? How do you see robo-advisors fitting into your financial future?
Yeah, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Are you excited about this? Do you have concerns? This is all changing so fast, and your perspective is really important. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of robo-advisors. Keep exploring, keep learning, and happy investing.